Namaste, Jai Hind, and welcome to this edition of The Right Stand. I am Anand Narasimhan. RSS National General Secretary Dattatreya Hosabale has reignited the Bharat versus India debate. Hosabale ji has questioned as to why institutions like the Reserve Bank of India, State Bank of India, and even the Constitution of India still carry their colonial era names. Hosabale ji questioned the different names and terms of reference for the same institutions or even the constitution in Hindi and English. So, Reserve Bank of India becomes Bharatiya Reserve Bank in Hindi, State Bank of India becomes Bharatiya State Bank, and Constitution of India becomes Bharatiya Samvidhan. So, he's made the pitch for using Bharat in all languages and drop the India reference. Now remember, Draupadi Murmuji's G20 invite said President of Bharat. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's current nameplate outside the house is Prime Minister of Bharat. Hosabale ji has linked English dominance and different terms of reference to a residue of colonialism. Listen in.
क्योंकि भारत के नाम को इंडिया ही कहना चाहिए, वो इंग्लिश में इंडिया है और भारतीय भाषा में भारत है। क्या ऐसे हो सकता है दुनिया में कहीं? कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया भारत का संविधान, रिजर्व बैंक ऑफ इंडिया भारतीय रिजर्व बैंक, हर जगह पर ऐसे क्यों करना पड़ रहा है? प्रश्न उठना चाहिए, इसको ठीक करना ही पड़ेगा ना। देश का नाम भारत है तो भारत ही कहो, और एक इंडिया है क्या और एक क्या?
Long years back, they want to cut the India. They only want to remain the Bharat. So this is their ideology and also their policy and also their line. So the people of India is not accepted this.
आप जिस नाम से पुकारना चाहें आप पुकारें। वज़ीर आज़म साहब के जहाज पे भारत भी लिखा है, इंडिया भी लिखा है। इट्स कॉल्ड द इंडियन एयर फोर्स, इंडियन आर्मी। लेकिन हम भारत के हवाले से भी बात करते हैं। जब हम सारे जहां से अच्छा गाते हैं तो क्या कहते हैं? अलग नाम है। आप जिस नाम से पुकारना चाहें आप पुकारें।
अब समाज सेवा का बना हुआ ये संगठन अगर इस तरीके की बात करेगा, जो मुद्दे देश के हैं, जॉबलेसनेस के हैं, जो इकोनॉमी के हैं, पर कैपिटा इनकम के हैं, बढ़ती महंगाई के हैं, महिला सम्मान के हैं, और वो इन सब चीज़ों से ध्यान भटकाने के लिए वो इस तरीके की बयानबाजी।
So not surprisingly, the opposition hitting back there and also accusing the RSS of attempting to A, rewrite history, and B, deliberately try to deviate the discourse from the actual real issues that face our country. Now, this debate on rebranding, renaming is not a fresh one. Many other nations in the past and also recently have changed their names to expand their link to their traditional past, to where they hail from, who they are. So Persia was renamed Iran. Siam was renamed Thailand. Democratic Kampuchea was renamed Cambodia. Burma was renamed Myanmar. Holland was renamed the Netherlands. Irish Free State was renamed Ireland. Ceylon was named Sri Lanka. Rhodesia was named Zimbabwe. Swaziland was renamed Eswatini. The Czech Republic was renamed Czechia. Turkey now should be called Turkiye. But this task with Bharat is not so simple. If the centre is driven to rename India as Bharat across the board, as we have seen in several government engagements, then the route is quite a daunting one. One, it is legally permissible, but an amendment is needed to remove India from the constitution so that this reference India doesn't come anywhere. India is mentioned in the preamble, which is considered a part of the constitution. So then Article 1 of the preamble starts with India, that is Bharat. So that will have to be amended. And again, then you'll have to say from henceforth the constitution will be referred to the Constitution of Bharat or Bharat ka Samvidhan. So amending the constitution involves passing a bill in both houses with a 2/3 majority. Amending the constitution further needs ratification by at least half of the state assemblies. Article 1, like I said, will have to be changed and the resultant changes in all other articles. Massive legislative process. Several laws with India will have to be dropped. The centre has recently replaced the Indian Penal Code with the Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita 2023. So some changes have already happened. Now there will be an impact on the constitutional mandate of using English in legal proceedings. Right now, the constitutional mandate is that legal proceedings will be conducted in English, although in many courts across the country, local language is permitted. But even beyond the legal tangle, the politics of the country will also pose a major challenge, which leads to some further big questions. One, will it truly help us shed this colonial mindset if we drop India and make it Bharat? Will it actually push us to learn our languages, 28 of them official? Will it end the them versus us politics south of the Vindhyas? Will it bridge India versus Bharat divide, where we look at the rural-urban divide and the mindset divide? Will it end the secessionist moves within the country when everybody will think of us as one name and one country, one nation? Can it be done without changing the preamble? That's the larger question. Dattatreya ji has come, as we say. Let's go across to our guests. Tuhin Sinha, national spokesperson of the BJP, Nikul Patel, leader of the Congress party, and Anand Ranganathan, political commentator, scientist and also author. Namaste, Jai Hind everybody, and Jai Bharat, if I may say that. Nobody has an issue using the word Bharat. But what Dattatreya Hosabale has spoken about, Nikul Patel, is this thought process. Why should the same thing have two different names and two terms of reference the moment the language switches? Are you agreeable to this? Let's say, let's keep the constitutional changes and all of that aside. But in our regular lexicon, can we increase the usage of Bharat, reduce the reference to India? Nikul Patel.
I would like to start. I would like to start like this. Today, right now, in this debate, we are communicating in English, and the message that what we want to convey to the people of the country is going to be conveyed or not.
Yeah.
If the same debate is conducted in Hindi, I think people will understand or not. Basic objective of any language is the communication. Now, when it comes to India, I think India get named from the Indus Valley civilization. What I learned from history, and Bharat Varsha was right from Rig Veda and everything. Now, instead of just posing questions to the public and telling that it should be Bharat, I think RSS must tell Narendra Modi ji to bring the law and start amending it. If the procedure is not started, one cannot reach to the destination. I think there is not going to make any difference if right now it is India or it is a Bharat. The main objective is the people's interest and their rights and issues. But still, if RSS feels that it has to be Bharat, then I think they must approach Prime Minister and ask him, with the majority they have in the floor of the House and in the entire country, they must start amendments. Nobody is going to stop them.
Okay.
There are so many names that have been changed in the entire country.
Correct.
But the philosophy of the government is to make people happy of this country. That is not happening anywhere.
Okay.
I think RSS must first focus on the welfare
The
of the
happiness
people of
quotient.
this country, what they believe in.
Okay, but my point is, Nikul Patel, whether we do this debate in English or in Hindi, you remain Nikul Patel. Why is it that the name of our country changes from India to Bharat because the language changes from English to Hindi? Is that not a travesty? The nation that gives us our identity has a dual identity, but our identity remains singular. My name remains Anand, whether I debate in Hindi or English. Your name remains Nikul. Nikul does whether you debate in English or Hindi. But we have a problem with our country having a dual identity. That's what Dattatreya Hosabale is asking this question.
That is what I am telling.
Correct. But my question to you, sir, is: should the procedure not start in even when we are debating in English? Is it so difficult for us to call our country Bharat in English? Does the term? That's where I am asking you. But the other thing is
that RSS chief has to think on.
No, sir. The RSS chief has said we need to have a greater conversation on this, and it needs to change. He's not the RSS chief. He is the Sarkareva, but he is the number 2 there. But he has also said we need to start thinking on these lines. We need to start this conversation, and eventually this must change. Because when I myself as an individual have only one name, and that name remains the same across languages, why should my country's name have two names when the language changes? Is this not a residue of the colonial era? The colonialists were the one who renamed Kanhapur as Kaunpur. They were the ones who could not call it Chennai and said Madras. They were the ones who could not say Sindhu and they called it Indus. So at all levels, these are residues. So that's the argument that he is making. So please think about that. But Tuhin Sinha, before what happens to Startup India then? What happens to Make in India then? What happens to Skill India then?
Namaste, Anand. Namaste, everybody. In the same way that the invite from Honorable President for the G20 summit went out as, mentioning Bharat, President of Bharat, the same way Invest India could become Invest Bharat, the Startup India could become Startup Bharat. Both are beautiful names. Bharat, of course, predates India by many thousands of years. Bharat is derived from King Bharat from the days of Mahabharata. And India goes back to the 4th century CE and, is derived from the Sindhu Nadi. Now, the point is, Article 1 of the Constitution, which mentions India, that is Bharat, or India Arthat Bharat, can simply be tweaked to Bharat, that is India. It's about which word gains primacy over the other. And I do feel the time has come for Bharat to gain primacy over India.
No, but why would you want to even twist it? Why should you just say, are Nikul alias Montu or Anand alias Andy? That's not something that you would write in your introduction, no, sir. It's not that Nikulji is called Montu. I was just making an example. I'm just saying, you would just, if you are going to change it, then it should be Bharat, a union of states. There should be no reference to India.
But that is how it has been written over the last 78 years.
So,
and people seem to accept it. So, the point is, Anand, we have, as Hindu religion has 108 names for every god. Krishna can be Kishan, he can be Murari, he can be Gopal. Shiv can be Shankar, he can be Mahesh, and 108 other names. So we do not have an attention span problem. We are very diverse. We are very pluralistic, even within, our belief system. But yes, I think giving one word, give one name primacy over the other pretty much sorts out the problem. If already the change in thought process has begun, where the Prime Minister refers to himself as the Prime Minister of Bharat, I don't think, even changing the name is required. Giving primacy to Bharat over India through a tweak of the Constitution will do the...
Correct. But my thing is, but why is it that we say that when you have to write, this is, Dr. Ranganathan, this befuddles me. All right, you can call an initiative Skill India. But Skill India remains Skill India even in Hindi, right? Make in India remains Make in India even when it is referred to in Hindi or in any other Bharatiya Bhasha. Why is it that only the Samvidhan becomes Constitution of India? Why is it that only the RBI becomes Bharatiya Reserve Bank? I think this duality is something that Dattatreya Hosabale is calling out. He's saying refer to the same name in all languages. Don't change the name because the language changes. That perhaps is his reference. Agree, disagree?
Yes, and there are 2 points. First of all, good evening, Anand, who is Andy, and to my fellow panelists, Tuheen, who is Tom, and Nikul, who is Nick. Look, I'd like to make a couple of points out here, and the second one goes into the deeper reasons why there are protests erupting because of what Dattatreya ji has said. So both are important. Look, as far as the first is concerned, Anand, some advance towards greatness, others return to it. We do both. Quote, the country that lies north of the oceans and south of the snowy mountains is called Bharata, for there dwell the descendants of Bharata. Bharata is the land of works, in consequence of which men go to heaven or obtain emancipation, unquote, the Vishnu Purana, chapter 3, 400 BCE. The name of our country has always been Bharat. You are free to call it by any other name. How does it hurt our present and our future that we return to calling our nation as Bharat? Will it reduce our capability in any way in science, technology, infrastructure? Will it increase unemployment, inflation? Will it reduce the number of highways we are making? Will it reduce the number of Ayushman Bharat health insurance cards that are being distributed? Will it decrease the number of toilets from the current 115 million? Will it make 170 million distribution gas cylinders leak? Look, you can airbrush history, but you can't airbrush a civilization. Anand, nations weaken, as I say, not because of their past, but rather by how they are taught it. And for 70 years, we've been taught to glorify historical injustices and forget our glorious history. You yourself mentioned some name, but from Somnath to Kashi Vishwanath, from Babarpur to Bakhtiarpur, Allahabad to Aurangabad, these injustices have deliberately made visible, as though to lionize the debasement, celebrate the humiliation. Look, those who love Bharat never need to be forced to love her. And those who don't no amount of force will make them love her. That said, it must be a matter of pride for Congress supporters who love India but hate Bharat that one family has been awarded so many India Ratnas. Now let me come to the other point. The crux of the issue is opposition doesn't want Indians to venerate India or Bharat. That is the crux. And that is the whole point. But I ask you, what is wrong in venerating one's country? Even without saying Bharat Mata ki Jai, I love Bharat. And indeed, at times, I am overcome by her personification as a mother. Also, personification of a nation as a mother is ideology agnostic. Anand, Soviet Union, China, India, land is seen as one that gives birth and protects and sacrifices. And as far as outrage by the left is concerned, there is a reason why the most imbecilic and senseless among the human race embrace communism. These hammerhead mock Bharat being called a mother, even as they admire the exact same personification celebrated by their comrades across the world. Have we forgotten the statue Motherland calls? It's but one example. Dozens about in China, Vietnam, erstwhile Soviet Union. Look, there is nothing wrong in venerating one's country if it is not at the cost of venerating humanity. And we Bhartiyas / Indians have given to the world the most scientific epithet ever. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam.
Correct.
By the way, what do Germans call their country that you call Germany? Yes, Deutschland.
No, but see, that's the anglicized reference. Deutschland does not, the rest of the world may call them Germany or whatever, but in their communication, never is it said Germany. It's Deutschland. See, this duality of identity is what, if it is not acceptable, applicable to the individual who is a Bharatiya, why can't the reference become Bharatiya? Is it so difficult? Is the question. Nikul Patel, your thoughts? Why is the opposition up at arms? Is it because it is Dattatreya Hosabale who's espoused this idea? Had it been a Rahul Gandhi who will say, I will not say India today, from now on I will refer to my country as Bharat, you would have all said, great, fantastic, this is the biggest unifier.
See, again, I would like to say that, as what Ranganathanji rightly said, that you love your country, right? And that is how you contribute to the country. And everyone in the country wants to glorify its country by the way they can, right? So over here, naming is as per the constitution what was adopted in 1949. At that time, the constitution makers must have thought something, and they have put it into it. Now, if the time has come where everyone wants to be as Bharat, we know Bharat Ratna, Bharat, as you said, Bharatiya Rail, right? So many things.
No, see, वही होता है, Nikul ji, see. Call it Bharatiya Rail even in English, or call it Indian Railways even in English. Point is, Bharatiya Rail becomes Indian Railways in English. Why? Why is this entire duality is perhaps that's what we need to challenge ourselves and ask this question.
Yeah, definitely. Now, once we are thinking on it and people have come to the point of discussion, now it has to bring it to the law. That you rightly said that in law, judgments are given in English, and now many judgments are given in regional languages also. With that thought process only, I start that if you are speaking in English or Hindi, ultimately it's the means of communication. But as you rightly said, it is related to the name. Now, when it comes to name, definitely we have to think it. And as a country, if entire country feels it, then definitely it has to be changed to Bharat.
Yeah.
Nobody is going to argue on it. But it has to start somewhere.
Correct.
Right. Suppose it has been realized today.
Just allow me.
Let's start.
Just allow me 10 seconds. I just want to apologize to our viewers on it's my error. We should not be calling it India versus Bharat. It is India or Bharat. That's the whole story. There is no versus in this this whole aspect. It's about choosing one over the other. So we will make that amendment right on the show, and we'll try and just change it into India or Bharat. Yes, Nikulji, complete please.
So ultimately, this are people of the country who thinks that okay, we need this name. Then definitely the process has to be started somewhere. So I think government must start initiation as one nation, one election, right? One nation, one tax. Similarly, we can say that one nation, one name, and that is what is required of the day. People, that is the people's lagri. That is what is day today. That is what I can say right now.
But are you open to the idea of saying, let's stick with one name for everything? Okay, it's called Startup India, so it remains Startup India, whether it is referred to in English or any of the other Bharatiya bhashas. I'm not saying rename the whole thing, but once you start calling something Bharat and when you refer to it as Bharat, just because you change the language, don't make it India. That's the whole thought process. Are we amenable to that? Are we open to listening to that? Nobody is saying change the constitution, rub out India from the constitution, rub out it's just that what remains. So then what will happen is then constitution is Samvidhan. Samvidhan is Samvidhan.
110 second.
Yes.
110 second. See, as there is a India into the constitution, that is why any government may feel that, okay, make in India, startup India, skill India, right? And somewhere it has been thought that, okay, Bharat Ratna, Bharat Khel Ratna, something like that. So now if it is not in constitution, if we start amending it, then definitely people will change that retrospectively. Now we have to do this like this.
Correct.
But it has to put it into the frame of law. That is what my argument is.
Do we need to really put it in the frame of law? Because if we put it in,
why not?
See,
then nobody is going to use name India.
No. Here is the thing. Here is the thing. If the terms of reference going forward increasingly become Bharat in common parlance and common communication across the board, eventually will you need to change the law first, or will that law automatically become redundant? There is no law which forces us to use English except in the courts. Now that is something, Tuhin Sinha, can that be separately looked at?
You know, the transition into Hindi has already begun. We have Swachh Bharat, it's not Swachh India. We have Ayushman Bharat, it's not Ayushman India. Prime Minister calls Viksit Bharat, not Viksit India. So I think, in the last 11 years, a fair amount of transition has already happened without making it very formal. Now, I guess we have gone with we have gone with what sounds better with the preceding word. So, in certain cases, it has been Bharat.
So are you saying skill Bharat doesn't sound nice? Are you saying startup Bharat does not sound nice? Are you saying are you saying make in Bharat does not sound nice? Because these were the coinages came from the same establishment, same government.
No. So that's why the thoughts of Dattatreya ji are much appreciated. I think we've been fairly flexible on this count, but the thoughts and the sentiments need to be appreciated. And going ahead, I think we must strictly confine ourselves to Bharat instead of India, and that is something which can be done easily without any legislation. So I think that is something which I think the thoughts, I'm sure, even in the circles of government, the thoughts would be much appreciated, and going ahead, they would be referred to.
No, but even in English, you would continue to call our country as Bharat? Or will that automatically say English mein Bharat thik nahi lag raha hai? Dr. Ranganathan, is that going to happen? It doesn't sound right in English. How can you write Bharat in English? Do we have that problem?
That's a woke mentality. The wokes have the problem.
Tuhin, who's a dear friend and also a writer, I liked his slight tweak. I think it's quite nice when he says instead of India that is Bharat, perhaps we should look at changing it to Bharat that is India. I think it's a nice touch. And I personally have nothing wrong in using both India and Bharat, and what you suggest and what Dattatreya ji is insinuating, that use just Bharat, there's absolutely nothing wrong in it. Having said that, to answer your question, Anand, I know sometimes it takes 40-50 years for people to change into something. For example, it's been 35 years and I still call Connaught Place as Connaught Place, not as Rajiv Chowk. So sometimes this take, multi-generations, but I think all Indians have started calling it Mumbai, not Bombay. So, it takes time sometimes.
But there are Mumbaikars who still insist on calling it Bombay. But that's a different point of view. That's a different reason altogether. But yeah. Yes, please.
Yeah. Then I would just one point.
Yeah.
I would just like to request that if the name is not removed from the Constitution India, then people like us or Rahul Gandhi speaks that I am proud of my India, then Bharatiya Janata Party must not say that this is anti-national.
Not at all, sir. Not at all. Nikulji, my argument is not about... My argument what we're trying to propose here. No, what we are trying to propose here is, see, it was a very clever alliteration that the alliance made when they wanted to use the word INDIA. Now, INDIA is an alliance. So, when they call it India Alliance, by default, it's redundant because alliance. Anyway, whatever, they wanted to use that acronym, fantastic. Nobody is saying Mr. Rahul Gandhi or anybody should not say the word India. But you refer to it as India even in Hindi, or you refer to it as Bharat even in English. Don't have this whole thing mindset in your head that this nation needs to be called differently in English and it needs to be called differently in another language.
Anand,
Yeah, yes,
Anand,
Anand.
I think for example, Tuhin belongs to BJP, not India People's Party, IPP, you know. And BJP is BJP, although party, I don't know what the Hindi for party is.
Sangathan.
If you really want to, Sangathan, yeah, so it should be Bharatiya Janata Sangathan. I don't know, I think.
No, but the BJP is Bhajpa, Bharatiya Janata Party in Hindi, it's in Bharatiya Janata Party in any other Bharatiya language as it is in English. The Congress is the Congress in any language as it is in English. So why is Bharat not Bharat in English? That's the question. Is that not our original name? Jambudvipe Bharatakhande. Jambudvipa is this subcontinent. Bharatakhanda is this entire portion of land where the people of Bharat live. So that's the reference from even before the 4th century CE, when this entire aspect of Intu, India, Sindhu happened because people could not pronounce Sindhu. Sa became her, and that's why Hindu, and then from there it became Indus. So, or into the Hyunsang, and it became Al-Hind. So from Al-Hind it became Hindustan. So land beyond the Sindhu, then we should rename it as the Sindhu Valley civilization. But I'm saying it's still called Indus Valley civilization even in Hindi today. Correct. It's still called Indus Valley civilization when we make a reference in Gujarati or Marathi. So why is Bharat India in English? That's the question he's asking. Why is the Bharatiya Reserve Bank called Reserve Bank of India in English? Not Bharatiya Reserve Bank even in English. Correct. That's the question that he is asking. Tuhin Sinha. And that is what the government needs to change. You're not changing, you're not erasing India. You're just saying it's the same name in all languages.
I think we'll have to follow a twofold approach. Like, you know, instead of greeting with a good evening, like I do in other shows, I've started using Namaste in your show. I think the more people start using Bharat informally, I think that would create a ground for a formal legislation to be brought instead of the other way around. Like Anand rightly mentioned, you know, even after 30 years, there are people who call Chennai as Madras. Similarly, people who call Kolkata as Calcutta. So it might, you know, if you know, let's imagine a legislation were to come in the next couple of years. It's an imaginary, hypothetical situation. Even after that, it might take 20 to 30 years. So I think it's a better way if we follow an informal approach, and in our informal lingo and conversation, we start using Bharat. That would create a ground for Bharat to be subsequently adopted as the the primary name.
But, yes, Nikul Patel was nodding his head. Final word.
Yeah,
have to wind up.
See, if whatever the feelings I am having for my country is not going to change if I speak India or Bharat, then I think name is going to not to make a much matter. But definitely it should be have one name, and if the procedure is started, then it will be officially. I definitely accept Tuhin Sinha point that it will take some time in transition period. But then also, suppose the name is not being legalized, and if I say that I am proud of my India, then Bharatiya Janata Party must not say that he is not nationalist.
No, not at all. I don't think beyond the politics of it, anybody is going to crib about you calling the nation India, as long as the term of reference does not change with the language. That's my submission, humble submission here. That's what I'm saying. Because see, today, yes, Dr. Ranganathan, I have to wind up after that. Yeah.
I just wanted to add to what you said, because I think that distinction needs to be made very clear. Now, you look at all our neighbors, for example. They use only one word to describe their country. I mean, Pakistan is called Pakistan, come what may. We can call it by any other name. You know, likewise, as I said, the Germans call their country as Deutschland. We call them Germany. The Japan, they call it Nippon. Now, the point is, we should always call it Bharat. Let others call us as India, Bharat, or whatever they may like to call it. Correct. That is the distinction that needs to be.
The thing is, till the time we ourselves don't call ourselves Bharat, why will anybody else call us Bharat? They won't. We don't need to force anybody. If we in constant parlance start referring to ourselves as a nation whose identity is this name, it's not a duality. We don't have a dual personality. We are not confused. We are absolutely clear. I think it comes from that part. Either you call yourself India going forward in all languages, or you call yourself Bharat going forward in all languages. The RSS and Dattatreya Hosabale believes that Bharat is our real identity. We were always Bharat. So we should call ourselves Bharat in all languages. Now, will that become a common parlance and usage, and will the government of the day walk the talk? We have to wait and watch. The legislative route is complicated, and any imposition is not going to work. It has to become common. It has to be heartfelt. Then after some time, then you can change, just like you changed the Indian Penal Code to Bharatiya Nyaya Sanhita and nobody objected. That's what's going to happen. That perhaps is the route to take. Thank you. So there's no versus, it's either or. So between India and Bharat, viewers can take their pick. The pitch is being made for us to call ourselves Bharat. We're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, it's the Prime Minister of Bharat who is in Mauritius. It's the big Vishwabandhu push, and there's also this Bihar connection. He's scheduled to address the community there. It's a community event in a short while. Be right back.